Hola, konnichiwa, tudo bem, como estas? Hello, aloha, what it do? Welcome to the J-Boy Sports Podcast, and we're going to recap the NBA season that was briefly because we're going to take a look at how the standings have ultimately unfolded. And actually, we're going to go through that and get to the nitty-gritty of that. Yesterday, the regular season ended just like it began, in a flash. But now we have to figure out who's playing and who's not. And so we're just going to quickly recap the scoreboard from yesterday. And if you take a look, what we're going to start with is the Magic and the Hawks. Now, this game was necessary, but also not necessary, because at the end of the day, the Hawks came out, they won, they did what they were supposed to do. But honestly, neither team needed this victory because at the end of the day, no matter what, they were still going to be in the play-in. So Orlando, even if they won, was not going to overshoot the Pistons, who are the 6th seed. And the Hawks were not able to overshoot the Magic, who were the 7th seed. So it is what it is. There was a game, and it was played, and that is what it is. 117-105, the Hawks. Hornets and Celtics, what do you think happened? Well, that's what happened. Yes, the Celtics won 93-86. Nobody cares about the Hornets. They are doo-doo butter supreme. Pritchard came out with 34, 7, and 7. Gotta love it from Pritch. It is what it is. The Celtics are going to be, they're going to be sitting at home this week until the weekend. The Hornets will be sitting in Cancun. They've actually been sitting in Cancun since the All-Star break. So they've been garbage. Moving on to the Knicks-Nets. Another game. It mattered for the Knicks because the Knicks needed to win this game to stay on top of the Pacers. So they did what they were supposed to do. They came out, put belt to behind against the Nets. 113-105. Shamet had 29 points. So there wasn't anything special to write home about in that game. Pacers-Cavaliers. So in this game, it didn't really matter either because the Bucks are underneath the Pacers and they were not going to they were too far behind to actually catch the Pacers. So they don't really move or go down or up in this scenario. The Pacers won 126-118. The Cavaliers didn't really play anybody. So for Cleveland, Jay Tyson had 31, 7, and 3. T. Bradley for the Pacers had 14, 14, and 5. I don't even know who T. Bradley is, so I gotta do some research on that. Wizards, Heat. Yuck. What a disgusting matchup. The Wizards are doo-doo trash. They've been out of the playoffs since the second week of the season. So Jordan Poole has been showboating his way to disgustingness. T. Vucevic led the Wizards to a victory here. The final score was 119-118. It wasn't even a big one. I didn't even know there was a guy named T. Vucevic. Is he brothers with the other Vucevic on the Bulls? I don't know. Dude had 28 and 11. Where's he been all season? And then Jaime Jaquez Jr. had 41, 10, and 7. Somebody tell me what happened to Jaime this year. I have not heard anything about him. He had a big season last year, and then this year, nothing. What's up with that? Interesting. All right. But the Heat didn't need this game or not need it. Toronto was the 11th seed. They're done. They were garbage. And the Heat were not going to catch the Bulls, who were 9th. So they didn't need this game, even though I guess it somewhat matters. They're trash, but, hey, playing. Bulls, Sixers. Bulls came out, won this one. Did it really matter? No. Well, actually it did a little bit to get them to the 9th seed versus the 8th. If you care about stuff like that, they're still going to be in the play-in. We'll see what happens. They did what they were supposed to do, 122-102. Taylor Horton-Tucker had 17-6. Whatever happened to that guy? Lonnie Walker for the 76ers had 31-6. Sad that Lonnie don't get playing time because when he does, he really balls out. So the Bulls move into the play-in. The 76ers move into yuck. Trash. That's what they were. Pistons, Bucks. Nothing really changes here. The Bucks were going to be in that 5th seed. The Pistons were going to be in that 6th seed. So they didn't really have anything to play for. Mike Beasley went out there, had 23 because he's nice. Pat Connaughton had a career high with 43 and 11. I didn't know Pat could play like that. He actually was decent off the dribble. He's not fast, but he was getting to the cup, man. I was impressed. I was impressed. He had a pretty good game. It just goes to show you can't sleep on NBA players, man. Nuggets, Rockets. Does this game really matter? Excuse me. The Bucks won 140 to 133 over the Pistons. Moving forward, we have the the Nuggets and the Rockets. The Nuggets and the Rockets, if you look at the Western Conference, the game did matter for the Nuggets because they were essentially in like this crazy tie between themselves, the Lakers, and the Clippers. So they did need to win this game. The Rockets, it didn't matter because they were going to get the 2nd seed regardless, which they did get. So nobody really needed to play for the Rockets. They did play their people, but it kind of looked like they were going through the motions. The Nuggets grabbed a 126 to 111 win. Joker had 18, 7, and 7. Amen Thompson had 15, 6, and 6. So Nuggets win that one. They just kind of kept their actual spots. Nobody really moved up or down or anything like that. So on to the playoffs for these two teams as they are some of the more top-rated seeds in their conference. Moving on to the Mavericks and Grizzlies. The Grizzlies came out and put Belta behind. 132 to 97 was the final score. Gafford had 20 and 7. Huff for Memphis had 22, 6, and 6 blocks. Impressive. I don't even know who this guy is. Never heard of him. But he came out and looked like he had a good game. Did this matter in the standings? The Dallas Mavericks were going to be at the bottom regardless. I mean, they could have jumped with Sacramento if they had won this game potentially, but they didn't. And they were not going to catch the Grizzlies, who are 8th, but will be in the play-in, right? So that didn't really matter too much. So it is what it is. The Wolves came out against the Jazz in the next game, 116 to 105. The Timberwolves won. Anthony Edwards led the league in three-point shooting this year. He had the most threes with 320. I think Beasley was second with 319. Beasley on the Pistons. But he came out, had another big one, 43, 6, and 3. The Jazz were led by a guy named O. Toshibiwe, never heard of him. The Jazz are trash. Hope he has a good career moving forward, but no disrespect to you, brother, but the Jazz are trash, man. They're pretty garbage. So the Timberwolves came out, did what they were supposed to do. They needed to get this win to keep their positioning because they were basically in like a dead tie with like 2 or 3 other teams. So they came out, did what they needed to do. Going down, the Thunder versus the Pelicans. What do you think happened? Well, yeah, that's what happened. So basically the Thunder put the Belta behind. Even without everybody playing, Wiggins had 28, 7, and 7. Some guy named Reeves, not Austin, so we don't care as much, had 20 and 6 on the Pelicans. Pelicans were another dumpster fire team. Good riddance. Get them out of here. Pack them up. Fold them. They're out of here. All right. Raptors, Spurs. Who cares? Spurs 125, Raptors 118. Maybe Stephon Castle gets Rookie of the Year. That would be nice. But nobody really cares. Scotty Barnes had 35, 11, and 8. Where you been all year, Scotty? K. Johnson, I think his name is Keldon Johnson, had 23 and 9. Haven't heard a lot from him this year either. Spurs get the victory. The Raptors continue to be a dumpster fire. It's complete crap. That's what their coach said. Moving on, now we have the Clippers and the Warriors. This was the biggest game of the night and then the game that was for all the marbles, all the kit and caboodles out there. It was a very good game. Steph did the best that he could, but he had some very costly turnovers down the stretch. And Steph is like the lottery, man. Like, if you hit it, you're feeling great. If you don't, it's not going well because he has some costly turnovers. Buddy Hield got the final 3 of the game. It didn't go to Steph. And, the Warriors live and die by the 3 so much. Draymond Green blew a layup that would have tied the game. So, I mean, it is what it is with that. James Harden had a big game. My man was balling. James Harden is looking like old James Harden. The thing is, though, the Clippers' offense is interesting to me. They play more ISO than I think pretty much any other team. Now, normally I like ISO. I don't have a problem with it. I like ball movement mixed with ISO, in my personal opinion. But James Harden's going to have to play an overall game. And by overall, I mean he can't just settle for threes all the time. He made some extremely huge threes yesterday, but I would like to see him get to the basket. He shot a few nice mid-range jumpers. That's what you need to do. You got to get the mid-range game going also. Kawhi Leonard also had a pretty good game. In fact, just to go over it, James Harden had 39, 7, and 10 in a big game, big win. The Clippers needed it to keep out of the play-in, which the Warriors now find themselves in. Curry had 36 and 6, so he played well overall, but just some bad turnovers down the stretch. And like I said, the Clippers won 124 to 119 in a barn burner. It was definitely a tough game. But if you look at the box score, Zubac put in 22 and 17. What a year for Zubac. He used to be a Laker, so he's always going to have my respect. Like Zubac, he's one of the guys we don't talk about when we talk about the young Lakers that are no longer with us. R.I.P. those guys. But Zubac is definitely turning into somewhat of a star. Gotta love it. Norman Powell chipped in 11. Kawhi Leonard had 33 and 3 steals, 7 assists, 6 boards. Not a bad game. And Kawhi looked good, but one thing I always question with Kawhi, I don't love the way that he fights against double teams, and sometimes I feel like he's lazy for the last second shot. I know he got that one against the Sixers, but realistically, since then, what has he really done at the end of games? The last time I really saw him in the playoffs, he lost to Joker, and they gave up a 3-1 lead, if I remember. Like, they had 3-1 lead, and part of that is because Doc Rivers is a complete dumpster fire when it comes to closing teams out. But, yeah, he didn't get it done. So we'll see what they do. They have a nice squad. They have some pieces. On the other end, Draymond Green chipped in 14 points. He had a really good three-point shooting game. He was 4 for 6. That was pretty good on Draymond's part. Jimmy Butler had 30. We already said Steph had 36 and 6, but he had 8 turnovers, and that's just not going to get it done. As much as he was the reason that they were in the game, he was also the reason that they lost it. You got to stop turning the ball over, Steph. You got to stop it. Podziemski put in 19 and 7 boards and 4 dimes. So now the Warriors head to the play-in. The Clippers will be waiting for their opponent, but we already know who their opponent is. They will be playing the Denver Nuggets. So we will preview that in a second, but let's go back to the final scores here. Again, Clippers 124-119. They needed this game. They came out and did what they had to do. And before that, the Warriors were like 17 and 3 since the Jimmy Butler trade. So you got to give them credit. Clippers came out there and did what they had to do. What comes after that? What was our, let's see here. After that game, what was left? Let me see. What just happened here? Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. I don't know why my cursor moved. All right, now we're back. Good. And after that game was the Lakers Trailblazers. Nobody cares. Blazers 109-81. Bronny James had a horrible game. And you know why I'm pointing it out? Because they couldn't wait to tell us that he was starting on ESPN. So before you start getting mad at me, it's not an attack on a young man. I'm giving ESPN the same energy that ESPN and the LeBron fans want to have. Why would you even talk about him? Because you shared with me that he was starting. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. He had 4 points. He had 4 steals. Not bad on defense, I guess. 6 dimes. Not bad at passing. 3 boards. But he was 2 for 10 from the field and just didn't make anything happen on offense. Dalton Knecht had 27, so that boy's a problem. We knew that already, though. On the Blazers side, 23 points from some guy named Banton. Matisse Thybulle had 15. That's the only other person I know or care about on their team. So their season is over. Chauncey Billups just got an extension. I don't know what to say, but good for Chauncey, I guess. And the last game was the Suns-Kings. The Kings, I guess they needed the game. It kept them on top of Dallas, but they're still playing. They still in the play-in. It don't really matter. The Suns, good riddance. The end of a dumpster fire. Y'all need to really, everybody on that team needs to go sit in the mirror in a sauna or something, let the heat hit your face, and think about, pray for your sins, because there was a lot of them. Just an absolutely disgusting season. So that's all the games that closed out the season. Let's just briefly talk about what's going on with what we already know moving forward into the playoffs. So the first thing we know is the Timberwolves will play the Lakers. So I'm going to break that down in another video of what I think will happen and why. Should be a good performance. We're looking forward to that. The next teams that are going to play are the Pistons and the Knicks, right? So the Pistons are going to go against the Knicks. Now, they've actually played a few games. They played a game recently in which there were some players out on both sides. This should also be an interesting matchup. The next matchup after that, that's already determined, is the Clippers versus the Nuggets. So the Clippers will be playing the Nuggets. This is just kind of a rematch from, I believe it was 2020, when the Clippers had Doc Rivers, the biggest liability in coaching when it comes to winning with a 3-1 lead. You know he likes to lose those. He loses those more than people lose their keys, actually. But, yeah. Clippers versus Nuggets. Kawhi Leonard has a chance to right the wrongs versus Joker. Joker, after that, has actually been better than Kawhi Leonard. But before that, Kawhi Leonard was widely considered as better than the Joker. James Harden is also involved in this matchup, so it will be interesting. Who will survive? And the next matchup is the Bucks versus the Pacers. The Bucks are down Dame, and we don't know if Dame is going to come back, but to me, Doc Rivers still needs to win this series. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's been balling. There is no way that he needs to be losing to the Pacers. Now, the Pacers are not a slouch. They're not a bad team. They're not going to be easy to defeat. They got a lot of guys that are really good. They don't have a star per se, but they got it. They do it by committee. They got a lot of dudes that could score. But it's just going to be interesting because Giannis, you're one of the best players in the world. One of the best players we've ever seen. So what are you going to do? Are you going to let him beat you or you're not? One thing I got to give LeBron James is teams like this, he was beaten. You know, he was beating these teams. So will Giannis be able to do the same thing? I'm not saying you got to beat the top-notch guys without Dame. But you need to beat these teams. This team is good. But you're one of the best players ever. So you're going to have to step it up, sir. And so from there, these are the matchups that we already know for certain. All right, these are the non-negotiables. The other things that we know are we know who's going to be in the play-in game. So in the play-in game 1, what you're going to see is the Hawks are going to play the Magic. That's going to be on Tuesday. All right, that's going to be on Tuesday. And then after that, you're going to see the Memphis Grizzlies play the Golden State Warriors. Now, that's both 8 and 7 matchups. So Atlanta is 8, Orlando is 7, Memphis is 8, Golden State is 7. Whoever wins that game automatically gets into the playoffs. So that team, whoever wins that game, will automatically be the 7th seed, right? Automatically will be the 7th seed. As far as the other games, which will be on Wednesday, will be the Miami Heat, who's the number 10 seed, versus the number 9 Chicago Bulls. And then the game after that is the Dallas Mavericks, who are the number 10 seed, versus the number 9 Sacramento Kings. And that will be on Wednesday. On Friday, the loser of Game 1 will play the winner of Game 3. And for Game 6, which is the game after that, the loser of Game 2 will play the winner of Game 4. So it's going to get a little bit spicy as far as the play-in is concerned. Does this really matter? I think it does a little bit because I really don't think anybody... I don't think you really want to play the Magic or the Warriors, in my opinion. Everybody else, I think, is going to get smacked down. The Kings also might be interesting. They don't play any defense, but offensively, they're going to give you a run for your money. But I don't think you want to play the Warriors. I don't think you want to play the Magic. The Magic are really good defensively, and they got Franz Wagner boy, and obviously Pablo Banchero. So I don't think you really want to play those two guys out in Orlando. And then Golden State has Steph Curry, one of the greatest players we've ever seen. They got Jimmy Butler. They got Draymond Mongoose Green, who's a wild animal but can be really annoying in a series. And outside of that, I mean, maybe the Kings, maybe. But ultimately, if you're not playing Golden State specifically, then you should have an easy matchup overall. I think you should have a fairly easy matchup if you're a top team. If you're the Thunder or the Celtics or the Cavs, those are winnable games. So that's it for the recap. You guys can take a look at it for yourself, but that looks like the rundown of how things are going to work. Stay tuned, because it looks like we're going to do another video at some point, just kind of dissecting some of these matchups on a deeper level, and we'll see what happens. But it should be a fun playoffs. I do think the playoffs are going to be much better than the regular season is. There are some exciting matchups that I'm looking forward to, and so we'll go from there in the quest for the ring. We'll see who wins. So thank you very much for your time. Please like, share, and subscribe. We're building good things here on this channel. Please support it. And I really appreciate you. I'm very humble. Also, don't click off immediately, because we have some other suggested videos that I know you will love. So appreciate your time. I'm very humble. Much love. I can tell that somehow you're never gonna